Hello folks, hope everyone's doing good. Digging the hip hop, good, me too. Only best me, thank you very much, appreciate it. And hello everyone, and welcome new members. And for all of you, I hope you found the link to October's reference in the community chat. It's a new page, it's a new day. Each month, at the beginning of each month, we start a new reference page on the website. So we have, I won't say a complete continuation from the last couple of sessions, because this is a beginner session, but I might not speak so much about every nuance of what I'm doing. But you know me, I can't keep my mouth shut, so I probably will. But the idea is that we're, let's draw. Building upon the ideas from the last couple of sessions, keeping all of those types of things in mind. Let me turn the music down. There we go. I assume you could hear what I was just saying and I wasn't just talking to myself over a wall of sound. Okay, I think we'll start with a 15. Let's see how that goes. We might not need all the time, but we might. But let's plan on that generally anyway. Camera change. Last sessions were awesome. Yeah, they were fun, weren't they, Jeffrey? I would completely agree. And yeah, so today's poses were also picked in the spirit of that last couple of sessions. They're not overly complex, but we've got a new model today and, potential new challenges. So Thursday's stream, we'll probably get a bit more into some more dynamic posing, maybe stuff with a bit more challenges, foreshortening and that. You know the drill. Okay. Let me hit the counter. Hold on. Lucky sup of tea. Oh, wrong button. There we go. Okay. Let's do this. Once again, I'm back pose. I'm going to find her spine and the overall kind of rhythmical idea of that upper lower torso. Something like that. Coming in this direction and then more down like so. Look for those tilts of the axis for both the upper and the lower torso. We can see that if we look at the sacrum, the sacral dimples, we can kind of see the axis going in this direction, right? Let's get that in right away. Find that iliac crest going in this direction and this way. Rib cage sitting in here. somewhere like that. And then from here, subdivide this lower torso. Something like that. I want to find that kind of butterfly motif that we talk about, just to help understand this mass of the buttock. There's probably somewhere in there. Okay. Let's find these legs, or at least block in some rough proportions. Supporting leg first. And something like that. Foot sitting there, and then this leg going away from us, right? So you want to be careful of that negative space. So I'm already thinking I'm pushing too much there, so I'm going to just tone that down a bit to about there. Want to get in where the knee, or where the calf meets the upper leg there, just loosely at this point, but somewhere in there. Can even really kind of from the light, you can see that transition of the light hitting this side of the leg and then coming around into the shadow. Got this kind of thing going on, right? This leg coming down in this direction. Let's find, that will do us for now. Let's find the arms. So at the scapula we can see quite clearly, right? You can see that where the acromion process from the scapula hits right there. You can see the scapula coming down and coming across the form like so. So the scapula really, you know, especially when the arms go right up like this, you can see just how much it can shift from its resting point, right? Head of the humerus is about there, this arm is coming up in this direction. Head is sitting about here, occipital ridge. If we could see it, we'll be about there. And we've got the deltoid coming up this way. Triceps coming up there. This arm also going up. But the elbow is sitting quite a bit lower, right? If you look at her right elbow, you come across the form to locate the crease of the elbow on this side, or where the forearm meets the upper arm. It's quite a bit lower. It's coming in this direction. Somewhere in there. Okay. Okay. Lower lumbar. Just suggest that there. Okay. Hamstring sitting there. Calf. Achilles tendon. Let me see the back of the heel sitting about here. Okay, there's a block in of sorts. Should get us where we need to go. Let's keep going. So I'm actually just want to correct something here. When I look rhythmically, the rib cage coming down in this direction, and we go in where the oblique is there, and we come out to about here. So I think I'm a little bit wide in that area. So I'll adjust that. And then coming down here, we kind of correct ourselves. Okay. So, scapula coming up to the tricep, coming up this way. Deltoid into the bicep. Hair is sitting in here, kind of draped over her neck there. Get us into the ballpark. Okay. Cool. All right, so I'm coming back just down to the sacrum here, the bottom of the sacrum. We have the division obviously over the left and the right buttock. And then let's come up the form this way. Coming up, meeting up with the oblique, sitting in there. Coming up to the rib cage. And then meeting up with the scapula. And then into the deltoid. Something like so. All right, let's keep going. You got the slight fat pad of the inner thigh there, and coming down to the hamstring, and then coming down to the knee. Remember, we got the side of the form here, coming down the iliotibial tract. Down to the ankle. Okay, let's keep going. So if you look at where the inner thigh of her right leg is right here, and you can see that this leg is connecting over here, right? If we could see through the form. So even though the line starts here, I want to be thinking about the fact that it's connected to the upper torso up here. So then we come down. To the ankle. Then very, very subtle, but look, just as we come down the form here, we go ever so slightly there, right? And then a direction change. And it is super subtle, right in there. But you got this kind of weight, you know, that's it's very, very slight mass sitting right in here, right? Just want to be mindful of something like that and try and observe it and bring it into the work. Achilles tendon. Something like that. We're at 12 minutes. All right, yeah, we'll another couple of minutes here. We'll be good. There's this wrist. The wrist is sitting right about here on this arm, and then this hand is connecting. Actually, this hand is holding on to the forearm here, so we can kind of suggest that. Wrist is sitting about there. Something like that. The hair is sitting in there and coming across the form this way. This hand is sitting in here. And you see a little bit of her hair right there too. Something like that. Okay. Getting a little bit of core shadow just to help describe form. I'm cheating the light a little bit here, right? Like, we're not going to get into a tonal drawing, but you see the way that the core shadow is actually at about the 3/4 mark coming down the form here. I've shifted it over to just try and at least help describe this form as it turns in space, right? Where we go from the back of the leg to the side of the inner thigh here. So, yeah, it's not quite how it is on the reference, but I actually, and same thing down here. I think I can just help describe form a little bit better by pushing it over. And so I think that's a very justifiable kind of adjustment to make, let's say, from what we see in the reference. You can pop in a little bit of cast shadow right here. Can I see it? No, but once again, looking to help describe form. Okay. First pose is done. 16 minutes. All right. Excuse me. No, Rick. It happens. Don't worry about it. We all do it. And look, you're going to need, the winter's coming, you're going to need things to start fires with, right? So, you know. Next pose, lovely front pose. And we've got this fantastic kind of relationship and dynamics between the upper and the lower torso here. Even though the pose itself is relatively simple, there's lots of opportunities here. So sorry, what's the question? Oh, let me go back to the drawing. Pamela is asking the question. I wondered what curve, bone or muscle, that was directly below the right acis. Let me pull the drawing back up. Okay, let's, or just very quickly. I assume you mean in this region here, or are you talking about the next pose? I believe you're talking about the first pose. So in this region here, right through here, right, you've got rib cage coming down, the oblique is sitting in here, right, in this area here. Then coming down here, in this section here, you have the gluteus medius, right, right in here. Like if I drew a line there, this is gluteus medius in here, meeting up with gluteus maximus. And then also what you're seeing here, the top front leading edge of this could very well also be the tensor fasciae latae, which is attached at the acis, right? Comes down this way and meets up with the iliotibial tract, which is coming down the side of the leg down in this region in here, right? That flattish kind of plane that we have on the side of the leg, which is from the fascia coming down from the gluteus medius and the tensor fasciae latae coming down and connecting at the knee. So I hope that is what you were talking about and hopefully answers your question. Okay. Jeffrey says something interesting here. I was watching a new video from Seth Miranda, last ex-witness, about portrait lenses. When he said this about composition of an image, he said elements of the composition are words in a sentence. I think it comes back to, I think very much so, like, and it comes back to this idea that we've discussed several times about, you know, gesture being closer to like a poetic form, right? Using less words, hopefully to convey meaning or the same meaning as, you know, a longer sentence, for example. Learning to use the vocabulary of drawing to express ideas, and using composition in that process, and that's, you know, the same for photography, right? Like they're using very similar ideas, only obviously the tools are different. I'm going to take that further and propose this: lines and marks are the syllables that make up the words, shapes that make up the statements of drawings. Sure, you could certainly think of syllables. The way I like to think of it, Jeffrey, is I like to think about a musical reference, and I like to think of the lines as the spaces between musical notes, right? You get busier passages, you get quieter passages. So that's the analogy I usually use, is a musical one. But yeah, like I think that you could make a strong argument for what you're saying too. Cool. Okay, next pose. Now, so let's find that lovely axis of the shoulders. And can you, I don't know if you can really tell in context yet, but I'm pushing it just even a little bit further than what we actually see on our model. This comes back to this idea of pushing just that extra 5%, right? Which will inevitably calm down. But it does help bring freshness and vitality to the drawing. When we can push just ever so slightly, right? Okay, so right leg is the supporting leg. Obviously, that's what's pushing that hip up in the way that it is. Come across, the aces is here, iliac crest is going to be about there and there. Inguinal ligament coming down to the pubic bone down here. And then let's find our arch of the rib cage, which is obviously happening at this point where the upper torso turns. Neck, sternum, that arch of the rib cage is going to be sitting in there. Sternocleidomastoid coming up this way. Head sitting here, tilting back in space. Coming up with the clavicle, the arm, the top of the humerus there. This arm coming down in this direction. And this one coming down like so. Finding blocking in for the mass of this leg that's coming towards us. Basically, we've got that tapered cylinder concept coming to about here, and the leg going down in this direction. So this is coming towards us like so. Sitting in there. This hip coming out. Great trochanter sitting right about here. And this leg coming down in this direction. That'll do for now. Let's find the navel, come around the form here. Pectoral muscle coming down. Breast sitting in here. Now we've got her hair that's hiding the form of her trapezius and shoulder, but I still want to kind of have a sense of where they are. I'm not just going to not draw them because I can't see them. And this forearm going away from us. Where's her wrist? Her wrist is about here. Something like that. Oh. Deltoid. And the brachioradialis coming down this way. This arm is, both of these arms are going away from us. Right, like that. somewhat like in there. Once again on this side we can't see the trapezius, but I want to draw it so I understand it. Okay. Oblique is sitting in here. And we've got, even though our model is quite lean, we've got some abdominal compression in here, don't we? Sitting in there. Let's suggest this hair. And on this side. Okay. Get us into the now let's start with the tie down. Once again, I'm going to start on the right side, simply because I don't want to dirty the drawing any more than I already have. So coming up, oblique is sitting in here, then coming up to the rib cage. Sitting in there. Deltoid. Oh, I don't know if you guys can hear that thunder. That does remind me, this is a little aggressive. That's not what I was going to say. That does remind me, I had a power cut about an hour ago. We're having a bit of a storm here. So if I just vanish, you'll know why. And if that does happen, then we will just have to live with that fact and pick it up next time. Okay, so hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, let's move down the form. See that knee, box-like concept sitting in there. So our form is kind of turning in space like that, right? Right. Coming down the tibia, sitting in here. Calf coming down, then meeting up with a small muscle, which I forget the name of, which sits underneath the calf. You also, like the forearm, you have flexors and extensors in the calf. It's a lot of kind of, not entirely, but there's a lot of replication from the mechanics of the arms, obviously, into the legs, and vice versa. You see a lot of similarities, you know. This leg is too wide. I'm coming in. Probably closer to there. See how much I was off there? That's outrageous. All right. Look at her right leg. You can very clearly see the inner ankle bone, right? You know, this apex point here is higher on the inside of the leg. Gives us an opportunity to get away from symmetry. Bring in just a bit more visual interest, hopefully. Oh, you can't see her foot. Okay, her foot's there. Can see the ankle. Good. Okay. Where are we at? 13 minutes. Alright, we're getting there. One of those occasions, rare occasions, I'll just pull in the kneaded eraser, and I just want to pull out that initial line I put in for this exterior part of the thigh here, just to soften it slightly so it's not quite so distracting. Okay. Subdividing the form here and there. Okay. I think that'll do it. 15 minutes. Look at that. We're on schedule for once. Yeah, proportions start to click as you practice. Honestly, I think that I really do feel that proportion it can be taught. You can teach basic ideas about proportion, and then we've talked about real world kind of experience beyond that, right? But at the end of the day, with so much of this stuff, it really comes down to practice, right? Repetition and practice and doing it wrong a lot of times, and then with each progressive iteration making slight adjustments until something intuitively starts to feel more correct, right? And I do think that that's a huge part of what this process is about. Yeah. Okay, let's see. And the ankle is basically like the wrist, but taped together with bubble gum and balling wire. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Although so's the wrist, if you know, like really complex structures, both of them. Lulu says something interesting. It's not so much about time invested as it is about slowing down and getting into higher order problem solving thinking modes. You know the feeling when you get it. You're correct. It's about also, I think it's about drawing with intention, right? Just not just doing junk miles, but actually sitting down with an idea in mind of what it is that you're going to draw, rather than just, impulsively just starting to put lines down, to kind of consider what does this line represent, and to try, if at all possible, and it takes time, but to try and not put down useless marks, if that makes sense. And as you get better, you get better at guessing where that first line should be, so to speak. And we all need to do exploratory marks, and I think those are different in a way. But you see sometimes people's drawings, and it just looks like a bird nest of lineage. And inevitably, they're waiting for one of the lines to be in the right place, right? But I think you can think in more deliberate terms than that, if that makes sense. Okay, I really like this next pose. It's going to be trickier than you think, partly because there is really no arch to the back, either forwards or backwards. It's quite, you could argue that the top front, the upper torso is quite stiff, but it has this incredible relationship to the hips and the lower torso. So I'm really hoping that we can find that in this drawing, in this pose. So let's give it a go. Thank you, Margot. Appreciate it. Are you on a weekly schedule for sketching live? Asks Heather. Yes, we're meeting twice a week, Heather. Either on a Monday and Thursday or a Tuesday and Saturday. Somewhat depends on the week. But I always put a schedule up on a Sunday at the beginning of the week, both here on my website and on Instagram, for the week coming. Last week was also a Monday and Thursday, which is kind of unusual that we do that, but that's because I have something coming up on Saturday, which you will all find out about in good time. But hopefully you will find of value and interesting. So we're doing we'll do this again on Thursday as well. It finally clicked in my head what you meant about iterative process. You learn once you spot the mistakes and correct them. You do, right? Even if it's minutely each time, hopefully we don't all just keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over and over again, I do a lot of junk miles during the stream because I want to listen and interact. Rewatching later and sketching at my own pace helps me put it into practice. Yeah, Lulu, that's fair enough. You know, though, I think that what I really mean by junk miles is kind of, you could say, the equivalent of kind of like doodling on the phone, right? There's not, you know, back in the day when we had phones on wires in houses, you know, you'd sit in the hallway on the phone, and there would usually be a pad for taking, you know, messages or whatever, and you can end up just like spending half an hour on the phone just making mindless little shapes or whatever. There's a drawing equivalent of that, even in the kind of like in life drawing, where you're not really putting anything into practice. You're just kind of just blindly copying what's in front of you and not really thinking about it. We want to at least try and get away from that mentality of thinking. There's a place for it, you know, like watching TV and mindlessly scribbling. That's fine, but don't then consider that, oh, well, I practiced today because I scribbled in front of the TV. It's a very good chance that, especially as a developing artist, that you got very little out of that process. Okay, any tips about drawing hands? Asks Apostolos Luca. Yeah, but we're not really getting into hands so much now. The one that I will give you just quickly, because I think you'll get a bit of bang for your buck out of this one tip. And I've mentioned this on the stream before, so most of you have probably heard this already, but I think it's worth repeating. If you look at the palm of the hand, be mindful of the fact that this area, this fat pad here, is actually where your knuckles are. Right? So the palm of your hand actually conceptually feels, not just even conceptually, it physically is a larger space than the knuckles, or the part, you know, the front side of your hand. And you can think of that as kind of like a lever, right? If you look at where the knuckles are in relation, people tend to draw hands and they give the same kind of distance between here and here as they do between here and here, and they're simply different. The only other thing I'll say right now about drawing hands is definitely try and conceptually do two things. Think of fingers more like boxes and cylinders, and you'll get away from banana finger syndrome. The other thing that I think is a really useful tip just in general is about grouping. Unless there's something really important to the story that's being told, if you've got a hand that's doing this, you're going to probably draw a much more successful hand if you group some of the fingers in some way, right? You could do it like that, you could do it like that, although I tend to group the middle two fingers. It makes for a much cleaner read. Generally, unless you're really, really, really good at drawing hands, generally splayed fingers like this are going to be a real challenge to get to look convincing. Somehow grouping really helps make the hand read in a much stronger way. And you can even think of these fingers as a single like mitten idea first. That's what I generally tend to do, is I think about, even if the fingers are kind of spread out in some kind of way, I generally think in a large form of, okay, imagine I've got those mittens that you give little kids, right? Or some adults. Think in mitten terms first, build a hand up as a mitten, get the general proportions right, then subdivide fingers as need be, rather than starting off drawing like a circle and then 4 sticks. You're going to run into trouble. All right, so hopefully that helps. Let's get into this pose. I know that there's more going on in chat, but I think... Hey, I can't seem to find your Instagram account. When I click the link in the description, it says there's nothing there. Oh, I need to change it. Sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, you add art to the end of my name, Richard Smythman Art. It was just my name, and I added art to the end of it. So that will get you there. And I will change that in the description. Thanks for the heads up. Tips on feeling the movement of the gesture, asks Kirst. Let's discuss that. We're about to start a pose, so we can kind of discuss that now. So I'll talk about that as we're going. And you had a really long wire attached to the phone, so you could drag it into your room. Yeah, exactly. Oh, the long extension cord on the phone, that was like revolutionary, wasn't it? It's like, that wasn't always a thing. And then when suddenly you got one that you could move around, and then the cordless, good times. Okay, I'm glad that that works for you. Cool. All right, let's start the clock. And let me change the camera. Okay. So gesture. Some poses really lend themselves to it. As I was saying a few minutes ago, this pose is generally, the upper torso is quite stiff, which is one of the reasons I picked it, but it's also mainly because I just love the relationship between the upper and the lower torso. We've got a real big tilt. So I'm working just with a super large, simple shape right now, and I just want to understand the overall large relationship between this upper and this lower torso, right? This will get adjusted as I go, but it's just getting me in the ballpark. Got something like that, and you can almost see the barrel. Well, you can kind of see the barrel of the upper torso sitting in here. So you almost are getting this kind of effect here. This leg coming this way. Knee is going to be sitting approximately here. But once again, I'll come back to that. There's the mass of this leg kind of sitting in here. And I'm thinking volumetrically, right? I'm thinking about how the form is turning in space, like this. This other leg, okay, so this is what I really thought was fascinating about this pose, was how we can see just a little bit of the tensor fasciolate there, and then this leg comes down this way like this. And then, unfortunately, it gets obscured by the box that she's kneeling on, but that's why we like the pose, because she's kneeling on the box, so it's a trade-off. But we don't get the lower leg there. No big deal. Okay, so box is sitting roughly about here. Let's find our center line, because once again, this is another opportunity where we've got quite a twist in the form. So we've got the center line kind of coming down this way. And then right about here, we've got the navel. And then we have this type of thing going on. Crease of that leg is sitting in there. Actually, I might need to bring the navel down, possibly, but let's see. Maybe it's okay. Gesture is honestly, it's usually easier to explain with poses that have long, really long lines of action. This one is a quieter pose in some way, but I'm still kind of trying to think gesturally in this process. Okay, so the arch of the rib cage is sitting in here, something like that. Actually, this arch goes higher. But I'm going to use this as my anchor point, where this point right around here. And I'm using that really as kind of like a point of measurement. So that arch of the rib cage is quite a bit higher. It's up about here, which would make sense now when you're looking at some of these other shapes that are going on. We'll probably lower this just a tiny bit. Down to about here. Sternum going up this way. Manubrium sitting about here. clavicle coming back this way. Head of the humerus is sitting about here. And this arm going back in this direction, something like that. Clenched fist sitting in here. Pectoral muscles about there. Breast. So now I'm kind of adjusting, actually. I'm going away from that, closer now to this. So maybe the first time it was right. Once again, exploratory kind of thing going on, right? Okay. So yeah. Breast is about there. Can't see, so you get the bump of the clavicle there. Rib cage coming down. To the mass of the breast sitting in there. I think this is a bit low. I knew this was going to be a tricky pose. It's so easy to look at a pose like this and go, oh, that's relatively straightforward. Hopefully we know better. That wrist is there. A little bit of pushing and pulling as we get into the tie down. Sternocleidomastoid. We can't really see it, it's very relaxed, but we know it's coming up this way, meeting up with her ear. Sitting in there. This needs a little bit of attention. Okay. I will get into that now. Let me just block in some hair. Okay, so I'm not happy with some of the stuff that's going on here, but let's problem solve. Okay, so rib cage coming down, breast, rib cage sitting in there. Then you can kind of see that side of the abdominal, almost like kind of like the oblique too. sitting somewhere in there. And this crease of our navel, like if you look at this intersection here, right, we come down, okay, our navel's in the right place, so that's good. But then we come across the form here. This crease is right about there, and coming down like that. It is a tricky one, isn't it? So then this is roughly in the right place. Actually, before I do, I'm going to come across the form because I want to get this all right. So from here, if I come across, this is just a little bit lower here. Something like that, I think. Then we're meeting up with the rib cage in here. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, because then we've got the rectus femoris sitting in here, right? Kind of taking up this area in here. Okay, so the knee is sitting in here, coming across the form. Something like that. Yeah, that'll do it. And just got a hint of her foot there. This box is actually about here, isn't it? Coming down this way. Yeah, okay, let's keep going. Okay, let's see here. Pectoral muscles there. You look at this, very, very subtle. This little fat pad that we have sitting in here before then we get into kind of like the straight passage of the biceps. So right in there. It's really subtle. But once again, an opportunity to break direction, right? So we want to use that. Rolling over my drawings. Okay. Okay. Just, once again, just getting a little bit of coarse shadow ever so slightly in here, just to help use it to help describe form. Now we've got an interesting little kind of question for ourselves here, which is, in the reference we can quite clearly see ribs coming down the form here. So we have to ask ourselves, how much of that do we want to show? Because as you know, like fingers, too much and it's going to look like the splayed fingers problem. But do we want to kind of suggest it? Let's see. I think that will do it, right? Like, you could also maybe then just hint at it as it's coming across the form this way. But I don't think I'll do more than that, right? It's so easy with repetitious forms like the ribs, like fingers that can be evenly splayed. It's so easy to be too literal to what you're seeing, and to because you want to ask yourself, right, what is it that I want people to look at in this drawing? Anytime you've got things at an equal interval to each other, all the same length, say, or all the same shape, the brain tends to see symmetry as organization, right? Like man-made objects kind of thing. Nature doesn't tend to do that. And the eye will go, like, we don't want to make this drawing about these ribs, right? But if I drew them all like we see them in the reference, it's going to be the first place that the viewer will look is in this region. And I simply don't want that to be the case. So you've got to be really, really careful and ask yourself, like, before you do anything that has a repetitious shape, ask yourself, what is it that I want the viewer to see? Now, if you want to name the thing a study in ribs, then maybe you know that will be a different conversation. But generally speaking, in my experience, you want to avoid that. All right, just very lightly, just blocking in just a little bit of tone here. But being really mindful to not overdo it. Famous last words, but you know, at least that's the intention. Okay, where are we at? 18 minutes. That, I told you that was going to be a tricky one. You can either confirm or deny in the comments, but this was what fascinated me about this drawing, this whole region. I loved the kind of the unorthodoxness of it, really, because, you know, because of the pose and the fact she's kneeling on this, but this is the supporting leg and the pelvis is going up in this direction, it makes that relationship between the upper and the lower torso really dynamic and interesting. And a real challenge, because it's not the way that we normally stack forms, if that makes sense. So I really, for me at least, this pose, and there was, you know, this is part of a rotation. There were other poses in this particular set that were potentially easier, or even a cleaner read as far as, you know, a clearer silhouette or whatever. But there was something about this pose that just really, as I said, just really appealed as far as what's going on. This is, you know, talk about a subject for a piece. When we want to tell a story, or there's something we want to say about a drawing. For me, it's this area. That's really all that, everything else is just a supporting act for what's going on there. So, you know, when you're picking poses for yourself, it's something that you can consider. It's like looking at the model and identifying an element that you think is worth speaking to. Okay. The only thing I do like, Rich, is roll over my pages. Rick, it's a start, right? It's a great pose, isn't it, Lulu? I completely agree. Yeah. Look, this is... you could make a strong argument that this is not a beginner pose, but it's not unlikely that you could encounter a similar kind of challenge to this in a regular life drawing session, you know? So anyway, that was a lot of fun. I'm quite pleased with that one. Now, it started out a bit shaky in areas, right? But it kind of came together in the end. All right. Okay, let's have a look at the next pose. Cool. So this is, in some ways, you could make an argument that is it more complex? I don't think so, but there's definitely kind of more elements, if that makes sense. Anyway, you know, I'm enjoying this pencil so much, even though I've got other sharpened ones. I'm going to just take out a minute to give this pencil a bit more life. Because sometimes you just get favorite pencils that just play nicely. So you want to continue working with them, but every time you sharpen them, you're one step closer to death. For those of you who know Pink Floyd, you'll know the reference. Okay, that'll do. That'll get us through another couple of drawings. Okay, let's reset the clock. When you detail grip a charcoal pencil, do you sharpen in between every line? No. I only sharpen when there's literally just the charcoal is down to a nub. That's generally when I sharpen. Based on the last two sessions were comprised of, I found it to be great progression. That's great, Jeffrey. Good stuff. What hardness of pencil? 6B for life. Yeah, I haven't used anything other than the 6B charcoal probably for the last few years. I was working with graphite before that mostly. And then put charcoal before that. Like, so the kind of phases. Sometimes when I'm really just want to work something out that I feel very unfamiliar with, I will work with charcoal. Oh, sorry, with graphite, because it's a little, frankly, a little more forgiving in some ways, or can be. Lumra, welcome. Great, glad to hear it. The depth of the pencil line is pretty deep, very Steve Houston. That's funny, Rick. Nice. Good stuff. Okay, let's keep going. Clock is started. Now, her torso is kind of coming towards us ever so slightly. Well, going away from us. So the opposite of coming towards us. But there's something I have yeah, it's hard to explain. Okay, let's see. Rib cage sitting in here. Coming down. Upper lower torso sitting in somewhere like that. Can't really see it, hair is obscuring it, but manubrium's about here, coming up. Head of the humerus is probably about there. Its arm is coming in this direction, hand going back. In there. This arm coming forward, meeting with the floor. This knee is about here. Tibia coming down this way. Our ankle's about there, give or take. So the foot's about there. And then with this leg, we're coming down. The knee is making contact. So this leg, just topography line wise, is doing something like that, right? And this one, yeah, knees sitting about here. Tibia coming down there. Then with what we're seeing here is the side of the leg, right, coming around like this, coming towards us. That knee is there. Sitting in there. And we can see the rib cage coming up this way. Coming down, ankle, heel. Coming down to the toes. All right. So just looking at whether the mass of the breast is even like in relationship to the knee, once again using that as a form of measurement. Breast is sitting, I've come across here, okay, yeah. And that all ties in with what's going on with here, so that kind of just confirms that this is the right place. Pectoral muscle. Deltoid is sitting in here. This forearm, or this upper arm, is coming towards us. Doing this type of thing, right? To the elbow. This is going away from us slightly. Let's do something like that. Coming across, clavicles here, pectoral muscles lower, pectoral muscles down here. This breast is sitting here. Then coming down, you've got that arch of the rib cage really kind of jutting there and then coming in, then meeting up with the abdominal, coming down in this direction. Coming down, you can kind of just very subtly here, you can see the iliac crest, where it's coming in the form there. Something like that. Center line. Now, we have the maneuvering would be about here. We can't see really anything that's going on here because of her hair. But let's just kind of, even though we can't see it, sternocleidomastoid, we want to get a sense of where the head is, right? So we're just going to kind of makey uppy just a little bit here. Oh, I've got something going on the paper underneath here. How far down is it? Maybe it's just a crease. Yeah, alright, we're gonna have to live with it. So, maneuvering's about there, face is gonna be about there. If we could see it, ear would be about there. Jawline. Something like that. But once again, her hair is obscuring all of this. But now at least we have a frame of reference to put her hair on top of. So the top of her hair is here. Coming down this way, like that. And right about here we have the hair's doing something like that. Ah, messing this up. Okay, we'll fix that. Okay, let's keep going. Deltoid coming down. Where's the elbow? Right about here, right? Then we actually need to get this right, because that's a hell of a... Makes me think my measurement's slightly off here. Let's see. Actually, maybe we're not too bad. Okay, we'll make this work. Hand sitting here. Okay, typical example of, we talk about grouping fingers. Look at the way these 4 fingers that she has making contact with the ground are all kind of separated from each other. We're not going to do that. We're going to do something like that. And it also tells me that I need to shorten this leg, which is kind of handy. So this is actually about here, which actually does feel more correct, so that's fine. And leg going back this way, we can kind of see a little bit of it there. Calf is sitting in there and then going down that way. Okay. Going to brush pen for Inktober? No. I watch Inktober come and go every year. I'm fine with that. I've done a little bit of work in ink. yeah, there's a place for it, but I can't commit to, you know, they do these like every day, the people posting stuff and all of that. I don't have the energy for all of that. I'd rather just draw. Okay. Bicep coming up this way. See, once again, grouping these fingers, how much simpler it is to get a clean read, right? Let's keep just chipping away here. Okay, so once again, I've got this inner leg, or inner line for the leg, asking myself, where's the connection point? It's up here, right? So that's going to help me determine where it is that I am going to end up putting that line. And then there's the mass of the kind of the inner thigh here, so we can just suggest that with a line in there. And we could reinforce it with a core shadow later if it feels like it would serve the drawing. Okay, so we got this interesting little problem to solve here. So I think this is further out. If I look at the distance from this calf, when I come out this way, I think my buttock is probably, the buttock is around here, which does make sense. Okay, let's go with that. Yeah, something like that, and then we can see that crossover just about there. Okay, pectoral muscle. And this hand, sorry, is going up this way. And the handle of this samurai sword, which she's holding, sitting in here. Something like that, and we can just see that blade going down in that direction. All right, where are we at? 17 minutes. Let's see what we can do, if we can do anything with this hair quickly. So it's coming. All right. Cool. Yeah, you know, interesting pose. Some little unique set of challenges. Cool. All right. I watched a thing with some comic book guy. It was all about saving money for a $1,300 sable brush and then doing everything with it. It was like his 6B. Yeah, you know, that's a hell of a sable brush. You'd imagine that thing being made up a mountainside somewhere, right? Whole ceremony to present it, and that you have to be worthy. Like, what was it, Pulp Fiction, when she goes to get the samurai? Not Pulp Fiction, sorry. Kill Bill. Yeah, same type of thing. What was that samurai maker's name? I forget, but that was a great sequence. Cool, these have been some fun drawings today, huh? Some fun poses. What do we got left? We got 4 left. All right, this next one is, I think, relatively straightforward. I think. Just gonna shave a bit more life off this pencil. You know, I've got all these sharpened, ready to go pencils, but this one is just performing like a dream right now. And while I'm not superstitious in the slightest, I'm a firm believer that when a tool is working, don't fix what ain't broke. Just don't want to be too vigorous with my sharpening and then break it. There we go. Done. Kobayashi, yes, Rick. Good man, Kobayashi. That was great, wasn't it? That whole sequence, just fantastic. What a great film. So much fun. Tarantino, man. Just what an imaginative filmmaker. What an incredible storyteller he is. Good stuff. Kobayashi. Yeah, the Kobayashi of sable brushes. I wish I could find a Kobayashi of 6B pencils, let me tell you that much. I've yet to meet Kobayashi. All right, next pose. Now, back pose, sitting pose, I would say, famous last words, watch me botch this drawing, I would say this is a relatively straightforward pose. Don't be shy with the relationship between this upper and the lower torso. Look at the axis on relationship on these two. Okay. Can't see the occipital ridge where the spine meets the skull, but we know it's there, and I just want to get a sense of that so I understand where my triceps start their journey. Now, I think it would be safe to say that there's very little detail on our subject's back. Her arm, one arm is spread out or leaning out to the front. The other is kind of there, but the hair is obscuring what the scapula is doing. So, excuse me, it'd be very easy for a pose like this to be devoid of detail in here and get quite boring. So this is where we're going to fall back on some of our anatomy training. And we're going to block in what we know to be there, simply to help bring visual interest, right? Sacrum, can't see it. This really does. This could have all the hallmarks of one of the most uninteresting back views. But it's really, I think, really critical in a situation like this to kind of to bring ourselves to the conversation so that we can add some visual interest and make the drawing more interesting. Like, I like the overall pose, don't get me wrong, but there are times when you've got to just kind of, you know, improvise. Okay, rib cage, where is it? Well, we know it's sitting in here. Something like that. coming up, oblique, sitting in there, very, very quiet. Coming up to what would be the transition from the back to the arm there. Deltoid, you can kind of see that teardrop effect of the deltoid kind of sitting in there, right? Then this arm going away from us. Let's get in a more gestural sense for that right now. So this is going in this direction. Once again going away. That's a good placeholder for now. That's not quite representing that arm, but I think it's good enough. Get us in the ballpark. All right. Head of the humerus about here. The arm is coming down this way. And this leg, although we can't see it, we know the knee is probably about here. And this leg is going away from us, like that. So come down, rib cage, some compression, very subtle here, but there's some compression. And coming down like so. And we can see her hand peeking up here, and she's got this blade, this samurai sword, or sword anyway, but it's coming right towards us like this. It's almost one of those situations where I might potentially change its angle slightly so it reads better, but I'm going to leave it as is for right now. Maybe we'll change it, maybe we won't. Okay. Hi Ocean, how you doing? Okay. Occipital ridge is there. Skull is going to be about here, right? Give or take. But once again, we have her hair coming down. Her back here. Something like that. Yeah, that's about right there. Okay. So I think we have enough now, at least. Oh, let's not forget her foot, because it is kind of helping bring some interest to this part of the composition. Toes sitting in there. Okay. All right, I think we're good for next stage. I'm actually going to start over here because I really want to... Oh! It's not the first time. I forgot this leg altogether. All right. Leg is sitting in here. Obviously going away from us. Okay. We'll get in the extension on that side, and let's get in the compression on the other side. It's like I'm determined to keep rolling over my drawings. All right, I actually want to, even though we've got down here, I'm going to start with the oblique. It's sitting in there. Now I'll add this little crease. Something like that. Now, if we look at, okay, so if you look at the buttock, look at the way we've got that fat pad of the hip, right, is sitting from about here to here. So that's kind of just, once again, that's one of those mental notes that I'd make to myself, that I want to try and express that hopefully in the subtlest terms possible. But I do want to express it, right? If that makes sense. Not so subtle, but hopefully you get the point. Okay. Something like that. Okay, so once again, we could all that time ago we put in the occipital ridge up here, didn't we? So we understood where the trapezius is. So even though I can't see it, imaginary line coming down. Okay, now this is where it reveals itself. So now I can draw in that trapezius and deltoid with just a little bit more understanding. something like that. Yeah, we have this hand sitting in there. You know what? I'm going to leave that blade off altogether. Don't really think it serves the composition or the drawing. It doesn't tell us anything. If anything, it's going to just confuse the viewer. Okay, just to finish off, just gonna add just a little bit of core shadow here and there, once again, just to try and subdivide some of these larger spaces and possibly help describe form. I think that'll do it. Let's just show the spine just a little bit more. Okay. I think that's going to do it. Just you know, as we started out with this drawing from the outset, you know, the part of the challenge with this drawing was to bring more visual interest, right, to the overall, the back, and to show kind of anatomy that we know is there, even though we can't see it. Because as I said, on our model, there's very, very little detail going on in this whole area, but hopefully we've managed to bring something more to it that helps, you know, yeah, helps tell the story. Have the tech people enhance the system so that we can view this when traveling in laptop? Oh, you should be able to view this live stream on a laptop, no problem. Yeah, I don't think the laptops have never really been the issue. It was trying it's membership button not showing on tablets and phones that seems to be the biggest concern or biggest problem. Okay. Now, where are we at? We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, and we've 3 more poses. I think this is a really good opportunity for us to switch gears down to some gesture. We've got some nice long poses. Each one of these has been like close to 20 minutes, right? So it's probably a good opportunity to switch gears slightly. Okay, so now we've got a side pose. Pretty straightforward stuff, isn't it? You're fine. Honey Lulu, yeah. It's kind of embarrassing, isn't it? I do appreciate the high tension music. You know, something about film music that's really good to draw to. Music generally without vocals for me. Generally speaking, instrumental music is what my preferred choice. Okay, let's do a 5. The clock is ticking. Let's look for that relationship between upper and lower torso, right? This type of thing going on. Lovely shape to the silhouette of the front of her form there, and her stomach sticking out slightly. Really like that. We will hopefully get an opportunity to emphasize that. Coming up, iliac crest sitting right about here. We can actually kind of see it quite clearly. And coming down. Okay, something like that. You can see that coming up to the rib cage. Just sitting in here. Supporting leg is her right leg, which at least the top part of that form is being obscured by her left, but we're going to draw it anyway. So this left leg, yeah, it's coming down in this direction. And coming down like so to the cabinet, or the box that she's got her foot on there. And just block in a simple form for that. Okay. And then yeah, she's been a fun model to draw. Enjoyed it. Arm coming down like so. Sitting in here. Hand sitting there. Gotta move quicker. Hair coming down. Once again, can't see anything of her face. Okay, let's get cracking here. Your oblique coming down, meeting up with the buttocks, coming in this way. Yeah, we wanted to get this kind of idea, right, with the stomach and that. It's lovely. Yikes, 30 seconds. All right, I think that's it. That's our 5. Definitely started a little too slow on that one, futzing around. Okay. Can't help myself, sorry. Next pose. Cool. All right. I think we're going to need a 5 for this one. I was going to say 3, but I think that would be a little bit optimistic. Let's go for 5. Once again, don't be shy to push those relationships. Where did our music go? I think we're back to the beginning of the playlist, but anyway. And this leg is going back this direction. This leg coming right up this way. Now let's just find her manubrium, pectoral muscles sitting about here. Gotta move quick. About there. His hand coming back this way. Holding that sword, which is going off like that behind her. And this lovely bit of foreshortening on this hand, right? Let's get our wrist, hand. And this finger is really coming towards us. These ones are going down. Now she's naturally grouping those 2 middle fingers, which is very handy. Forearms to about there. Latissimus oblique coming in. 1.5. All right. Kind of, you know, you could say it with all of them, but it would have been nice to have longer with these poses. But we've got it. We've done the heavy lifting today, so. But we'll definitely be drawing her again, because I think that there's, you know, we've only really scratched the surface of the model pack, and she's been a lot of fun to draw. Okay, this is a right bloody mess. And there's our 5. Yikes. Alright. Fail. Sorry, I can't help it. I've got to at least get in some of this. I have not done her any justice in the face at all. Anyway, okay, let's move on. Last pose. That was 6 minutes. Okay. Last pose. Yes. This should be a bit of fun to finish off on. Let's do it. We'll do another 5, huh? This is another one of those poses that it's trickier than what you might think at first kind of observation. We'll give it our best shot anyway, for the time permitted. Some interesting, yeah, relationships between that upper and lower torso again. Okay, had a humerus out here. This hand. Coming towards us here, this forearm. And then this hand, arm is excuse me. That sword is sitting in here, coming out like so. Her hair is really going for it. All right, there's our 5. Yeah, wow. Okay. Guys, what can I say? Good session, huh? Rick, as we say over here, well you may wear. Congratulations. Okay, guys, good stuff. We'll do this all again on Thursday. We will be a little bit more challenging with some of the poses, although today was challenging in its own right. You know, we'll get a little bit more out of our comfort zone, if you know what I mean. So until then, I need to get back onto the Discord and see what you guys have been up to over there. I hope you're not causing too much chaos. how do we tip you, us Pamela? Good question, Pamela. Should be a super thanks button or somewhere around the screen, I think. Always very, very appreciated. So yeah, also hit the like button on your way out the door, please. Much appreciated. And yeah, we'll do this on Thursday. We start an hour later than today. But yeah, we'll hopefully have a good session. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Hope you had a good time. I think we did some good drawings today, huh? I'm kind of happy with today's session. So that's good. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Look after yourselves. I'll see you Thursday. All right, cheers. Take care. Bye.